All right. Hello, 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 everyone. You are the highlight of my Mondays. I'm so happy to see y'all. Welcome back. We got an amazing Sunnyside Chat for y'all. So we have Mallory here. Everyone say hi to Mallory. Yes, yes. Mallory is a senior strategist at McGarry Bowen. And we have Aaron. Say hey to Aaron. Hey. He's the former head of art and design at J. Walter Thompson. And I believe you worked there, I think it was almost 12 years?
Almost 11.
Almost 11 years. All right, y'all. Y'all in for a treat. Let's go. So first off, I just want to go and ask y'all, I'll start with Aaron. Could you please just share with us your story, introduce who you are? We want to know about like a little bit of career, a little bit about life, your passions, hobbies. The
All right.
floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. And, it's hard to talk about yourself, especially about the roads you traveled, because I tend not to look back. I tend to always look forward. And there's a lot of things that you've done in the past that you wish you did better. But I started out, I grew up on Long Island and Puerto Rican family with all the culture and everything. And it was difficult growing up in a white neighborhood, and kind of stood out, didn't look the same. But we didn't have a ton of money, so we kind of did things a little differently, right? So we did like very creative endeavors. We would do like all kinds of art projects to pass the time. So that was really nice, and that's something that was embedded in me, and that's what I did. So, I said, well, I'm going to be an illustrator. That's what I'm going to be. That's what I want to do, or a graphic designer, one or the other. So, after college, I was like, there were no jobs because I'm a lot older than all of you guys. And when I graduated, there was no computers, or they were just coming in. So you had to do everything with your hands. And I like working with my hands. But there were no jobs. It was like I go and go and go. So I ended up in printing, and I worked my way all the way to the top, but I didn't like who I was working with, and I really didn't like the industry. But one thing I did do by working hard and working my way to the top was I was able to deal with the clients directly, which were ad agencies. And they saw that I brought value with what I was doing, and I was able to jump. And then I jumped into Fallon, New York, and Duffy Design, and I was working there for 5 years. You could see I like to stay in places for a little too long, and I stayed there, but all the while I kept moving up, moving up, moving up, because that's all I believe. You're here, you're now, but you got to keep pushing to get to what's next. So that's what I didn't really know what was next, but I knew it wasn't here today. I knew I had to keep going. And, I learned a lot of life lessons, and I kept myself pretty open with it. And then I moved over to Saatchi, and that was like a whole different ball game. They were all from overseas. They were from South Africa, Brazil, all this. And I got to meet a very international group of people who had different ideals and mindsets. And I just took it on like a sponge. And I was like, this is great. And I love these people, and I love this place. I love everything that I'm doing. And then they all left. And they all left. They all got different jobs. And, a matter of fact, my direct bosses started Johannes Leonardo. My other coworker was Menno Kloin, who's CEO. So like I worked with the next crop of big guys. Iqru Doria, all these big name people today weren't back then. And they were driven to succeed and make great stuff. So then when everyone left, I didn't want to stay there. So then I moved to JWT. And that is a whole nother story, because that place was crazy. When I walked in, it was out of control, nuts. I was like, what the hell did I do? I need to go back to Saatchi. I actually called the creative manager, and I'm like, I need to go back. And they're like, we'll take you back. But I'm like, and then I said to myself, you know what? I made a decision to go there. I'm going to stick with it and see where it goes. And then that goes into the whole lifeline of JWT and how I met all these wonderful people that brought me here today. But also what I achieved there was not easy, but I did it, and it's something I'm really proud of. And probably that leads into the 11-year question later on.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. And I love the Boricua energy as well. So, hey. But I want to toss it off now to Mallory. Can you also share with us your story, career, life, passions, hobbies? Let us know.
Wow. Okay. Well, I so I'm actually, relatively still new to this industry. I've managed to move up pretty quickly, but I'm 27 now. I graduated from grad school when I was 23. So I started as an account person, actually. If there's any basketball fans out there, I went to college and played basketball in the Big East, for St. John's. So I used to play in the Garden, which is pretty cool. And in high school, I played at Oak Hill. If anybody knows what that means, then you know what's up. So basketball is definitely like one of my passions and hobbies, but I probably could have come out and tried to play pro, but knew at the time, and I mean it's still true, that women don't get paid nearly as much as men when you're talking about basketball. So I was like, why would I murder my body? Especially, I was falling apart at the seams. So many surgeries, had my eyes split open a couple times. Basketball is not a gentle sport, especially D1. So I got beat up quite a bit, and I was ready to be done when I was when I was finishing up in college. And so knowing that that wasn't really a realistic career path, I was like, okay, I was graduating early, and I was so done with basketball. I just like, let me forego my last year of eligibility. I just gave it up, left it on the table, start grad school. Luckily, the athletic directors really liked me. They gave me a graduate assistant position, which allowed me to go to grad school, because I knew that if I had tried to come out into the professional world right after playing, I didn't have any internship experience. And that was one thing that scared me the most, is I was coming out from undergrad, I wasn't able to get the internships that all my peers were trying to get and really hustling, because basketball is a full-time job. So I knew I needed those extra years of grad school to get my feet under me to try to come out on a successful trajectory. And I ended up working out. I got my MBA in marketing management, also from St. John's. And then at the end of that period is when I went into MAPE. So if anybody knows what MAPE is, the Multicultural Advertising Internship Program, it was amazing to me. Gave me that experience that I needed, but then also, yeah, MAPE. But then also that that network that I think has been critical to me moving, not just getting into this industry, but also moving up the way that I have. And it was just phenomenal. I was placed out in Seattle at this place called Wong Duty. Tiny, I mean, it's a very small agency compared to like the JWT that I ended up at for my first job, but it was an amazing experience. And I would say for anybody that's going through internship life, the biggest thing there that I learned was to speak up and not just say what I wanted from the internship, but to say, I'm willing to do anything. Like, you guys need help with anything, throw me at it. Because I ended up getting to work on some cool shit that I never, Rich Storm, that I never would have been able to do. Like, I ended up being basically acting like a project manager for a day, but on this huge event that they put together, because Alaska Airlines was one of their clients, with Russell Wilson and this other guy, I forget his name, Joel McHale, the comedian. And it was so cool to like be their people for the day. But I never would have got that unless I had just offered up my services, body and soul, to whoever needed help with anything. Because that's the other thing. People get busy and they might not think that you could handle something, but they might have something, somebody else might have something that you could do. So if you're getting bored in a situation, just raise your hand, and then hopefully you'll be able to find somebody that can reach out to you. But anyways,
Yeah, I love it. Y'all take notes, take notes. Quick.
But after MAPE, that's how I met the face of talent. That last night was how I met the head of talent at JWT, and I didn't even know it. He just found me on LinkedIn afterwards and was like, come in for an informational in October before you graduate. And then that went really well, and they had me come in again. And I knew at the time that I probably wanted to be in strategy, but also knew that strategists, entry-level positions. Emily, is that you?
That you.
Entry-level strategists.
Hello.
Love to see your faces. Did not mean to interrupt. Please continue.
Sorry, I just got really excited. Entry-level strategists like really isn't a thing, sadly, for at least, especially when I was coming out. And even though they say entry level, you'll look at the job description, it'll be like 1 to 2 years of experience, and I'm like, cool, I just came out of college. So knowing that, and knowing that I didn't really know how the advertising industry worked that much, besides what I had been exposed to in my internship, I decided to go into accounts because accounts really see how everything works together. And that was really good. It was a trial by fire. Aaron knows the account that I worked on was a hot mess. It was a parent company, Newell Brands, that has about 33 brands under its umbrella, and there were 9 people handling 33 individual brands. And that's a whole scoping conversation. Scoping went wrong. But like, so as a member of a team of 3, I was handling 12 brands by myself and one other person, and hopefully 2 other people, but really one other person every day, which was just insane. I learned so much, but it was ridiculous. But when I came to the end of that, I knew I wanted to go into strategy, but I knew that JWT at the same time was going into a financial struggle period, and junior strategists a lot of the time aren't client billable. They usually get paid for by the agency because they're just investing in your talent. And knowing that they had such financial problems, I was like, they're not going to be able to give me my job, and they're not going to want to let me go from this account. So I just left. I saved up money. I saved up as much as I could. Don't do that. Don't do what I did unless you are financially secure, because New York is no joke. I saved up what I could, and then I left without another job so that I could focus on getting the role that I wanted in strategy. And it worked out. It worked out really well for me. But it was because of somebody that I knew from JWT. And yeah, bold. My dad told me I was an idiot. If you just look at it, like, you quit a decent paying job for nothing. It's psycho. It worked out, and I will never regret it because it gave me the position that I have now in strategy. I started as an associate strategist, and I got promoted within a year to just strategist, and then within the next year to senior strategist. I've been able to grow a lot at McGarry because they've really recognized my value and what I've brought to the table. So I've really appreciated that so far.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I kind of want to dive into that a little bit deeper too, because you were saying, oh, you were at JWT and then you went and transitioned to McGarry Bowen. How was that experience for you? How did you feel at JWT versus how you're feeling now at McGarry Bowen?
Well, Aaron's thing about JWT being a hot mess was accurate. It wasn't just that. I think they were just they were going through a tough time. Like when I joined, I was there for a year and a half, and there was very little new business coming in, and like some other clients on the rocks. And whenever that happens, things get shaky. I plead the fifth. things get shaky, and people get antsy, and so there was a lot of people like leaving around the time that I was there. But also, I think leadership was kind of on the rocks a little bit. So it never really felt as secure as when I got to McGarry. I will say though that even though my client was insane and the hours and the things that I was having to do to be successful on that account was just crazy, I learned a lot, and the team that I had, I loved. I don't think I've ever worked with better account people. to this day than the people that really taught me on that account. They're just really, really good at their job. There were some personality clashes, as there always are on teams, but for the most part, everybody was just really good and really smart, which is important and really helps. But at McGarry, it was just different. I could tell it was different immediately from the way that they treated incoming people, but also talked about their growth. And like when I got to JWT, the only conversation that I had about like a review was one time, and they were really doing it so that I had something before I left. And that was in a year and a half. At McGarry, there's instituted semi-annual check-ins and then a full annual thing every single year where you can say, this is my goal. Like you set up the goals at the beginning of the year and then you check in with your manager to say, these goals were met. So for me, I think that's been one thing that's really helped me move up, because I set goals with my manager at the beginning of the year. We come to the end of the year, I'm like, look at all those boxes I checked. there's nothing that they can say that says like I didn't meet the threshold required to move to the next level. So I think that kind of accountability is important when you're junior talent, because otherwise you just kind of live in this ambiguous world and you don't feel like you have as much power over your career path as you probably want.
Yeah, I definitely I want to stem on that just a little bit, because I'm wondering, because a lot of people within this chat are not in the professional space. And I know, especially when coming in, sometimes you're like, yes, I want to set goals, but I'm very new to this role. Especially leaning on that experience of like, hey, you just came in. What were some of the things that you wish you knew to set as goals when coming in? So that way the people within this chat can be able to learn from you.
I think the biggest help for me when I was setting the goals coming in initially was really leaning, like I was lucky enough to have a really good manager, and he knew what an associate strategist should be able to handle. He knew what then me as an associate strategist should be able to handle, but also knowing that I wanted to move to the next level. He put those strategist goals. What should a strategist be able to handle? What should the next level be able to handle? And then making sure that I was exposed to those kinds of things. So like a strategist should be able to handle delivering a brief to a client by themselves. Like a strategist should be able to take a thinking from absolutely nothing whiteboard to a brief that makes sense with some honing from a senior level person. Like that, I think whenever you set goals, you want to look at the goals that, and you can also ask your manager, because your role has to have some kind of job description. Mm-hmm. So be very familiar with that. And then if there's anything that you don't know that like how to do on that, talk to your manager, ask them what it is and tell them to give you an example, because most likely they've taken care of something like that in their careers. Be like, what's the best case scenario for you? Do you have something you can share with me that I can work from? Great. But always keep your eye not just on what you're expected of at your level, but if you want to move up quickly, know what they're looking for in that next level so that you can meet it. And there's nothing they can say to be like, I need you to grow more in this area before I can consider you for X.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I love it as well when you're like, no, give me an example. What does this look like?
No, seriously, because you guys will realize one day that like there is all of a sudden, like people give you things and you have to make stuff up a lot of the time. But you don't have to start from zero. People have done this before. There are people that have come before you that have had some question that was asked, and there are frameworks that they've used, and you just like, okay, I need to adapt this to make this work, but you don't have to, a lot of the times, just come up with something out of the blue. I think that was the scariest thing for me to start, is to feel like, oh, I just have to like make this thing smart out of nowhere. Like, no, there are examples for how people can bring an idea to life that can give you some guide rails for how to shape your thinking. And your manager should be able to give those things to you.
Exactly. I love that.
Should.
So thank you so should, but you're still gonna ask those questions. Yes. I really appreciate that. I now want to switch off to Aaron. So Mallory's going and shifting, but you stayed loyal with JWT for a long time. I just want to know, why have you never shifted? Like, what happened?
There was a bunch of reasons for that to happen, but mostly to understand it. And it's funny to hear Mal talk because I was on the other side of that. I
Mm-hmm.
ran a team, so and the way I ran the team was to avoid all the things that everyone else was doing, and bring them up, and have a sense of responsibility for them. So where the goals would be set, but everything was how and why you need to do it and why it's good for you to do it, not why it's good for me to do it. That's obvious. You're here, you're working, and that's great for me. But I need to give back to you, not just your paycheck. I need to give more than that. And I need to give you all the experience I have and give it to you for free for being here and showing up every day and being dedicated. And when you do that, you have an exchange with people and create a bond that's really big. And my team was very young. Everyone was straight out of school. So there was learning curves for everyone, myself included. And, I try to always put out there that, what you get from me, I get from you too. So there's that dual exchange, and then together we will all rise. And rise we did. But as, people would cycle in, and for the most part, people stayed. We had a good crew that I would say Ms. Perez was part of for probably to the very end. So, she and I are like, and I don't know how to explain it, but it is something that, because I had this dedication to them, I didn't see myself going to go somewhere else to do what exactly. I have a great team. I handpicked them. All of them worked their asses off. Everyone, I made sure that they knew more than I did, and that they can go and be better people than I was at their age. Because when I started, I could not get a break. So I had to go through back doors. I had to force doors open. And the one thing I kept saying over and over again, we have to be better than everyone else. And I don't care if they tell us to do this, we'll do that, and we'll do what we want to do. And we'll show them both. But that meant a lot of hours, and that meant a lot of time. So, we spent a lot of time together working on things because we believed we were right and we were not being heard until we were. And then we had a vibe where people were like, oh, them, they will take care of it. We not only, the team was made up by a whole bunch of people from all different walks of life. And it was something that by mentoring and kind of understanding the flow of a place, you can rise people up quicker. You can raise them to a level that they wouldn't get if they went to another place. And that was important for me because of my experiences. And the work we made was stellar. It was better than anyone else. And the work is always the center point. Drop your ego at the door and really focus on the thing that you want to take. Because, Emily will know I say this all the time, but when you leave a place as a creative, it's different maybe from Al, but, as a creative, your portfolio is what you take with you. If you take a job and all you're doing is banner ads, that's what they're going to think you are. If you don't show them that you're different, that you're better, that you can do it, you have to not just raise your hand, put your hand in the fire and go, look, I made this, but it depends on your wherewithal. So, to answer your question quickly is I stayed there because I invested time in my team invested in me, and I didn't want to go until they were gone. And, Emily will admit that I used to say, I'm going to get fired one day. And she's like, you're going to make that happen. And sure enough, I was let go. So eventually, because we had a whole new management shift and everything else. One of the things I asked myself, though, would I want to work there? Would I interview to work at this new Wunderman Thompson? And the answer was no. So I was happy to go. Because not only that I don't want to hold on to things, because if remember what I was telling you about from where I started in printing. I only got into advertising when I was 30. So that's how I got in, but I always wanted to get in. I just couldn't get in, but I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then I got in at 30 and then built myself up very quickly. Because once you know what you really want to do, nothing will stop you. You will go for it. You will own it. You will eat it. You will live it every day. So, and now, you know, I have my own thing, and that's what I'm doing. I still have the same ideals that I had at JVT. I just bring them in different locations now.
Yeah,
But
I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. And I feel like that's such a great quality too within a leader is just like, how am I investing in them as much as they're investing in me?
absolutely,
Because I feel like I've seen managers where they're like, nah, this is just a job, just keep investing in me. And
right.
I'm like, that's not how it works. It has to definitely be a two-way street.
And, you know, um, the team will know that at times I was very, very difficult, like because
Hmm.
there was a level of work I wanted to put out, but it benefited them all when they went to get new jobs. Their portfolios are better than most people that've been in the business for 15 years, you know, and I'm proud to say that I had a hand in that. And that means more to me than making a paycheck.
I love that. Stemming off of that, I just want to ask, because you've been in this industry for so long now, what has been your proudest work?
I don't have one. I
You
mean,
don't have one?
no, no, but I'll tell you some proud moments. I sent some work in there for you guys to look at, but since
Mm-hmm.
Emily's on, you got to play the link.
And I'll play the link.
There's a link there. I don't know if you see it. Folder.
Anthony, I'll show some stuff. I'll show some stuff.
Would you like to? Okay.
Yeah, I'll show
Yeah.
some stuff. Give me a second.
This, because
What's in the link, Aaron?
Emily, I miss you.
I miss you too so much.
Wow, I miss coming to pet
this is
you.
Burma.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I don't think there's. I don't
Did you
think
not see the
sound.
link in there?
There should be sound.
Yeah, yeah. Let's not worry about the sound today.
Okay. Kenny, did you see the link though?
Is this it?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Aaron wants something else. Wait.
I sent a folder with like a bunch of stuff.
Kenny, do you have that?
Yeah. Yeah, I have the other pieces too. Aaron, if you just want to talk to it.
Yeah, so I'll talk to Burma. So Burma was a piece that I did. It's a zigzag kind of thing. It was an installation at the height of digital. So, you know, when you're looking for creative ideas or trying to figure out what the next big thing is, you do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And this is a case. It was a very tactile installation that you know, the core idea is the pen is mightier than the sword. When everyone's talking banners, we did this thing where free political prisoners in Burma during an election year, you know, you take them out of jail by signing your name to a book, which we sent to the UN. And prisoners were released that way that year. So that was very good.
Wow.
But a lot of the work that I am proud of, but not the piece that I've done, is very nonprofit and things of this nature. Twofold, you could do very creative work for that, but at the same time, you know, you're actually doing something for people.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm actually wearing the shirt.
Okay.
This was one of the last pieces that I worked on besides one show. And this one was about all the fake news, right? So all the fake news that's going on from every, you know, aspect of media space where you can't trust anything. Really, it's our responsibility to decipher the news for ourselves and not be fed information. So, you know, everyone reads typefaces. So we created a type side. So when you read it, you have to decipher it, and that's as long as it should be for you to read an actual headline, so you're reading between the lines. So created this whole typeface and did banner ads with this, did an app, and pushed it all over the media space, and really got a lot of feedback. And it was very positive, well recognized in the industry. And it's stuff like that. Those are the kind of ideas that people stop and look at, and they want to interact with. So it's like get a new perspective, see all the angles, question everything, which is a shirt I'm wearing because it's true. You should question everything these days. And it was in print and all this other fun stuff. But it really attacked all the media outlets for just yapping and talking nonsense and getting everyone worked up. That's the app. And they were hung in posters in colleges and things like this. Basically, anything you create, whether it's for a client or for a nonprofit or for yourself, it should have deep meaning to you and should really resonate in an emotional way. So if you can create stuff that moves people, either moves them, in one way, makes them happy, makes them sad, makes them laugh, makes them cry. Those are the emotional triggers that you want the work to do. And for SUS, we had worked twice with them, and this was after the parade, which was a very big endeavor, and it's a very long video, but we did the full gamut of all the traditional media spaces plus some digital, and it was about returning vets who commit suicide when they come home. It's a true fact, it happens, and how we as a government as the American government, I should say, don't really handle that all too well. So we wanted to make a point of, because everyone celebrates Veterans Day, and it's one day you walk down the street, you say, okay, happy Veterans Day, but we wanted to say what happens after the parade? What happens when they go home? What happens? They die. That's what happens. So how are we going to do something to help turn that? And we wanted some heavy hitting. We did film, we did print. I just want to talk to you about some of this stuff too, because a lot of this stuff was low budget. So don't think that you need a big budget to make great stuff. You don't. You just need a lot of time and effort and a good team, to be fair. A good team that's going to work as hard as you do to make it happen. So we hired this silk screen person to silk screen these posters. They did it on fabric, and then we shot that and made wild posting. But then we took that fabric that they silk screened and shot our own print ads that we put out there. So you're repurposing the materials we're using from one media space into another. And then here we started the Veterans Fair. And we were on Channel 12. So SUS blew up from there, and that was very helpful for them because they provide housing for vets, but not just vets, people with HIV/AIDS and all different homeless people with different things. But they do provide actual housing. So the year before that, we made a cardboard apartment, plopped that in the middle of Times Square. Unfortunately, this did not happen, but this was in the case study. We were about to open a restaurant strictly owned by veterans. So, and getting on multiple media spaces, which is important when you're getting your work out there. You want to be able to get PR around it. PR is something that I focus on when I'm creating, because it's not just making the creative piece, it's how you're going to talk about it. And that's important for everyone to know. Every project, big or small, you should think about what the press release is going to be on that, and then work backwards from there. And then, obviously you need a great idea or a simple idea. Like Burma was hugely awarded and recognized, and that was, again, the pen is mightier than the sword. The typeface, it's just a sideways typeface if you think about it, and that's about it. So I don't know if Kenny's going to be able to pull this up, but without sound, it's just not as fun. But and this here is a very, very important thing for me. I was fortunate enough to be made Mentor of the Year, working with Emily, actually. So that was a big deal. But not only that, Emily rebranded me. But I knew Carl and was working with Carl, and we talked about rebranding, and I said, well, you have to get Emily to do it. And he's like, okay, I'll get her to do it. And we decided to run it through JWT and say, hey, do you want to be part of this? You support us to do it. And they didn't want to. They just, for whatever reason, they didn't want to. I forget. They were just like, I'm unsure what the rationale was behind that, but they didn't want to. So I said to Emily, I'm like, do you want to do it? And she's like, yeah, I want to do it. And I said, well, I'll help you then. And this is us being interviewed from, oh my gosh, look at that beard I had, jeez. But, and Emily's so young. Look how, it's like this is 2011. However, I said, I'll support you and we'll work nights and weekends to get it done. We'll do it together, forget JWT. And that's why also I stayed there, because we worked as a unit. regardless of we were working for GWT or working for ourselves, because we built that bond through trust and working together and making stuff for each other. So Emily's cringing right now. I could watching her do that. But yeah, it's a very, I'm very proud of, that not only did we get the opportunity to do it, but that she wanted to do it. She had the support from me. And, you know, it didn't matter if it was 11 o'clock at night or Saturday or Sunday. She'd be like, hey, what do you think of this? And I go, yeah, I like it. I don't like it. And, you know, we banter back and forth, and, you know, and it got done. And because if you go through the system, sometimes the system stops you. So you have to work around that, and you got to be able to see around the corner where you can place that. Not everyone's going to be having your back, you know, so, but you want to prosper and show what you can do. And how you do that is constantly being on point with what's happening around you, looking for patterns, looking at research materials, things that have been done in the past, as Mal was talking about, anything that can give you that upper hand to be able to create something that's either new in the sector, repurposed, a brand new idea that scares everyone, anything. But what you do get when you're a good boss or a mentor, you get to see someone rise and actually start to become their own person and develop. And that's something I always said to Emily and the team. We're like, you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. You just need to extract what you need for you to be successful. And that's why I love this video, because this was her beginning to become successful, which she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always giving it to my M.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw you guys use some of my footage in there, so I'm gonna.
He didn't do that.
I saw some of my footage in there. I saw some art battle footage in there, like for like 2 seconds.
And where?
So I'm expect some royalties. Yeah, y'all got away with that one slick.
I have to laugh. Okay, well, with this, that was awesome. I wanted to switch really quickly to Mallory right now. Specifically, you were saying, oh, senior strategist, but some people are wondering, what does that entail? Can you elaborate more on your role as a strategist and also provide some examples of projects that you're working on? And also talk a little bit about how you deal with client servicing, and then creatives, clients, how you deal with these things as a strategist.
Yeah. So strategy in general is really just all about figuring out whatever the client needs, or taking in what the client wants and then actually figuring out what they need and giving it to them, and then making sure that you're distilling what they actually need into a brief of some kind that's compelling and interesting and can give the creatives something to work with that inspires great work. So right now, as a junior strategist, most of what I was doing was just supporting. It was very much like I did a lot of competitive work, which clients really rely on a lot most of the time, or at least ask for a lot. So it was actually somewhere for me to start getting my work seen by clients and appreciated by clients, because my manager wasn't somebody that like just took my stuff and put his name on it or presented it and just took ownership of it. He was very much like, no, Mal put this together for you, and gave me that recognition, which felt good because that doesn't always happen. But so like as a junior strat, it's very much supporting. It's pulling in data for managers to start ideating on briefs or concepts, a lot of research, a lot of desktop research. And I think that's where you also start to get familiar with how you create research projects, qualitative, quantitative, helping to put together RFPs. As a strategist, it was then my job to start really owning those things and being able to develop them for myself. And I of course still had input and oversight from my managers and my directors that I worked with, but I think I was very lucky in being able to work with directors that knew I was good enough to work pretty autonomously. So we, a lot of the time, like if something came in that needed to get done, we would look what's on our plates, and my manager would either be like, I'll take this one, and you take that, or we'd be like, let's tackle this together and like come together and think about how we move forward on this. And so most of the work that I do on a day-to-day basis involves some kind of writing, like brief writing my clients that I came in with and started working on. I don't know if anybody knows who Northrop Grumman is. Northrop Grumman. It's a very large, one of the biggest aerospace and defense contractors in the world. Which is very interesting and very crazy. If anybody really wants me to dive into it, feel free to ask me. Yes, I did have to think about how I felt about working on that client before I started, but I will say that I feel like I learn something new every day, and I think for me that's been very interesting. I know way too much about the state of our national defense, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave that there.
Yeah.
But we take these briefs in, and our clients, it's a very technical client, and it's kind of crazy. And we recently, my most exciting project that I've done with them was rebranding them. So they're a company they've been around for a very long time, but they mostly grew through mergers and acquisitions. So if you think about a company as a whole, it just looks like a bunch of disparate parts and all these people thrown together in this one company, and they don't really have an identity beyond what the company has tried to stand for in the last 15 years, which was performance. And when they talked about that, it was literally like the value of performance, Northrop Grumman. And the CEO came up with that line and ran with it, because to him, as a company that was being made of all these different parts, like standing for performance was not only a signal to investors, it was a signal to customers, which is the government, and just telling them what we make for you is going to perform. It's not going to put anybody at harm or at risk. And that's all they cared about. And the stock grew really a lot over the 10 years that Wes Bush, that was the last CEO, was there. But this company, if you really think about what they work on, it's some of the most cutting edge shit you've ever seen in your life. Like, they are the ones that built the lunar module. That's my client. Like, if you think about the next people that are going to go to the moon and to Mars, my client is going to have a hand in all of that. Like, all this stuff that we've come to associate innovation with Silicon Valley is very different from the kinds of like true, like, generational changing innovation. Like, the internet was a DoD project. It's kind of crazy when you think about all these really technological leaps they've started in this industry, in this air and space and defense industry, and they've never taken any kind of credit for that. And as a company that needs to exist for the next 10, 20 years, they've hit a serious problem in the fact that people like you and the generations below you and that are coming up don't see the A&D industry as an industry that they would want to get into, or as an industry that actually does cool stuff. It's just like this dinosaur over there in the corner that does bad shit, and nobody wants part of that.
Yeah. Like,
it was a serious challenge, and it was a very interesting challenge to look at. And we rebranded them, and we basically told them, like, you're not an A&D industry and you're not a technology company, because that was what their new CMO kind of fixated on. It's like, this is what we are. Not quite. We wanted to get something that was a little bit truer to their ethos. And when you talk to all their people, it's always been about breaking ground and doing all these things in the sake of discovery and pushing humanity forward. And I know in some instances, and especially when you talk about some of the things that they've created, we can have a discussion about that if we really want to get into a moral discussion. But they've always been about pioneering, and that was something we built their new brand around this pioneering spirit and this ethos, and their new tagline is defining possible. And like, we've really taken them inside out, and it was me and my director and our CSOs who obviously had to get involved just because it was a big rebranding process. But like, we drove that. And for a strategist to be able to completely reshape a brand from the ground up is not something that a lot of people get to do. So that was really exciting and interesting and huge, and something that took up so much time over the last year of my life. And like, at the time when we started this and really kicked it off and sold in the brand, I had two people above me. I had a director and like a group planning director. And my director left for a new role, and then the group director, he was technically laid off. And then nobody's been able to come in above me since then. So right now, like, it's straight up just me.
Okay, light work. Okay, that's amazing.
No. I mean, it's been great because I'm now responsible for everything. Like, every piece of strategy that comes out is my responsibility, and it's been really great for me to learn on the job what it's like to be autonomous on a however $1 million account, though. And I should definitely have people above me, but my clients know that I should have people, and they haven't said anything yet. And they said they feel good, so that's cool. But that's also where I'm like, pay me more money.
Yes. Spitting facts. Yes.
Yeah. So like, no, I was just gonna say, I don't think I've really answered the question of what a senior strategist does. But from my experience, my senior strategist, I'm making briefs, I'm doing research, I'm designing research programs, I'm helping my clients shape their thinking about not just organizational stuff and how they bring their brand to life internally, but also externally, and it's all over the map.
Yeah, I think you bring such an interesting perspective too, because you're like, you touch this, and now I have to do this, and I'm running the show, and all of these things. And I think that's really interesting and amazing. I wanted to go and pass it off to Aaron, because I know one of the things that Mallory had said was, oh, I get things ready for the creatives, like I work with briefs and this. And I wanted to dive into this concept of like the creatives. What exactly consists of like the creative role? What roles within creative exist within ad agencies besides typical like art direction, graphic design, or copywriting? What's out there for the creatives?
That's a sticky question with me, because I actually don't believe there's a line between anybody. I insert myself into every section. I sometimes account, sometimes project management, sometimes strategist, more so these days than ever. But we always started with research anyway, our own research. We would do research from the brand's perspective, where they've been, and then not only what their history is, but what their history visually is. To get that. So that would be like the strategy. Once we had this whole strategy for our brand, took it to the strategists, and they were like, tossed it out. They're like, we don't need it. Wound up needing it later during the pitch because the ideas were falling flat. So that's why I go sticky. But the typical roles are designer, art director, copywriter, CDs. So you have CD pair, copywriter. Then you have ECD level, and then chief creative officer. Some smaller agencies only have ECDs as the highest level. And some people pair, like not Anomaly, 72 and Sunny doesn't hire art directors, they only hire designers. So the design thing is a real pain in the neck, and I have a bone to pick with it and how the industry has treated designers. The industry mostly has treated designers as a pair of hands. So like one step up from production, and it's like the art director will walk in and be like, here's the idea, make it pretty. Now pretty as a designer is not an insult, because pretty is the outcome of the thinking that we've done to get to what pretty looks like. So there's a logic flow. right? So the idea is a huge lot that goes right back to the brand. So what I was able to do at JWT was able to go, okay, we are on the same level as you. We are not working for you. That doesn't work that way. And whenever somebody would come in and treated us like that, or treated one of the team members like that, I would come in and just course correct them very quickly. I'm like, you do it. You're the art director, or we will do it against you. And you know, I kind of carried a big stick like that because I'm a bit of an asshole. You know, what can I say? But no, but the truth is, I wanted everyone to treat the team with respect. And for all the hours they work, these, you know, some of these art directors would leave at like 5, 6 o'clock, and we'd be there till 11 o'clock. You know, I'm like, that's BS, you know? So, and we would be invested in their work, which became our work. So, you know, that's my little soapbox moment on that. But the typical roles are that, depending on which agency you go to, whether it's a design-focused agency, hopefully you do, because designers and art directors are interchangeable. I've had junior designers graduate design school come up to me for an interview. I sit with them. I'm like, all right, so what are your aspirations? They go, oh, to be an art director. I'm like, then go be an art director. And they're like, well, I was taught that you have to be a designer first to be an art director. I'm like, no, you don't. I mean, you'd be a really good one, but you don't have to. You could just be an art director. And that seemed to confuse them, and which made me wonder what the programs were teaching these days. Which, you know, I didn't get. But as a creative, you need to be a creative thinker all around. You need to be thinking about every touch point of this, not just your little thing. Because how are you going to understand what Mallory's doing and what she's talking about if you don't understand what she's doing? You know, you can't just go, I'm the creative, I get this from this, because I guarantee you'll make something that's off strategy. And that's no good for anyone. Then the account people can't sell it. The PMs can't move it. You stall the process because of your ego. No good. You have to be able to go in there and understand everyone's role and show some empathy. Otherwise, you know, you're not being a true creative in my mind, you know? That's what this business is, you know?
Yeah, I really appreciate that, especially that sentiment of how are you supposed to be able to perform the best that you can if you don't understand like the role that Mallory has as a strategist? Because I've seen that before where it's like, oh, I'm just making this, but it's a lot easier with the strategist to be like, this is what I'm giving to you. And then the creative's like, this is what I can give to you. And then we're all understanding and building something collectively.
Truthfully, though, I will add that some people, that's all they want to do. And that's fine. It was just not to the level that I'm used to working at, you know, or working like. You know, I want to make great things. In order for me to make great things, I need to understand every moving part that goes into that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, I also work on Crayola. So where Northrop is, a lot of the things that we work on and the programs that we're trying to create briefs on are very technical, and I feel like our creative teams rely on me pretty heavily to like distill what actually this technology is capable of and then find the interesting part of it so that they can work from that. My Crayola teams, it doesn't work quite as linearly. Like, I really enjoy scoping out a few different ways in and then bringing them into the process and being like, what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is actually interesting? And trying to pull some things out of them so they know that whenever we get to a baked place that goes to client, they're going to have something really compelling to work off of. And I feel like that's usually the best way that we've been able to create great work.
Yeah, I love that. Because a lot of people are breaking into this industry, especially our creatives out there. I wanted to ask you, Aaron, what platform should creatives showcase their work for visibility by creative directors? What is your take on that?
Truthfully, there's 1,000 platforms you could be on, but I think if you start putting your stuff on Instagram, I think you'll win. I really do. I think, you know, I'm a big fan of taking something that's for this purpose and making it into something else. You know, and I think if you set up a separate one for your portfolio on Instagram, I think that would work. That's where I would lean. That's where I would look for people, because not only can you do your personal stuff and you know what you're passionate about, but also your work can be there. Because I have this belief that your work should be your passion. You know, and there's a little quick story about that. I used to, when I was working at Saatchi, I had to work a lot of hours and I resented it. But I work with such great people, that I said that my work should be like my personal work if I'm going to stay here till 3 a.m. So I wanted to be to that level. So I would find places that allowed me to do that. So I look at some of the work that I've done in the past. I go, it's pretty, it's good, it's smart. I can put that on Instagram today and it'll get a lot of likes, But I could also look for a job that way. That's just my 2 thoughts. But there's plenty of stuff, and most of the people know it's the same stuff everywhere. I would leave it with just try to use something that's commonly used for one thing and use it for something else.
Yeah, I love that. I want to pivot, just for the sake of time, I want to pivot to a question for Mallory. I've had a lot of people say where it's like, bring your whole self into the work that you're doing, bring all of your identities into this. As a leading Black woman in the industry, can you share with us a time, if there is one, where you brought a powerful insight into a campaign during your career and how you proved your quote unquote value as a strategist with a cultural approach in comparison to someone that's a non-person of color?
I think the main time that I've been able to do this was actually very recently. So on my Crayola client, I don't know if any of you have seen recently, but they recently released a new box of crayons called Colors of the World, and it's got all these shades and skin tones of people that they used to have a multicultural box that was like a whole other separate issue. That was like 8 crayons, and they were all previously made crayons, but they were just in this one little box, and it was just like, you kind of self-segregated crayons. And it included the colors black and white, like the actual colors. I was like, excuse me? Problems. But they knew this. And so I actually had a Black woman as a client on the Crayola marketing team who saw a brief that was going into their product design team for a new box of crayons that they were going to upgrade and do with Walmart. And they were like, wait a minute, we're doing what with who? And you're like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, no, pause. We can't do anything like this unless we actually want to be about this. Like, we can't just do this and try to sell this product. So I think her being in her role was super critical, and for her to be able to step in that point and be like, and then have the power and then the relationship with her team to actually say, no, this needs to be a whole ground up initiative. And she took it back to their CEO, who was all on board. They've now, since that happened, kicked off this whole process internally that is all focused on their hiring practices. And then with the product itself, they engaged the people that helped get MAC and the Fenty products off the ground to help tell them what a global shade palette looks like, and help them inform what their actual colors should look like, and then help them go through the naming process so that you're not giving some things named like lighter tones like ivory and then giving other things names that have like some kind of normal or weird connotation that are the darker shades. So they actually went about the process entirely the right way. And so when they came to us, they were trying to it was all about how do they bring that to market. They had told us this whole process and that they were going under, but they were like, how do we bring this to market? And initially, I think it was going to be much less than what we helped shape it into, because the teams that, I mean, I was the only person of color to touch this from any point, account, creative, and I was lucky enough to have a manager on my side that was like, I know you're smart, I know you can do this, I will oversee the creation of this strategy, but I want you to own this, and I want you to feel like you can bring this to life and help sell this in the way that you think it should be done. And I know, like, to some people that might not be fair because I'm the only brown person on the team, but like, she straight up asked me, like, do you want to do this? And I was like, of course I want to do this. Like, when I used to color my self-portrait when I was a kid, I used to come up with some weird concoctions of colors because there was no color that looked like me. So I was really excited to try to figure this out. And we sold them, we were like, this isn't just a campaign, this is Crayola's new statement as a brand for how they want to behave in the world moving forward, period. And how they want to engage with children and what do they want to stand for children moving forward, period. So we built this whole strategy for them that was all about, it was really cool. But I can't articulate without going through the process. I mean, Gary Bowen as a whole does this whole thing for strategy that like builds brands. By using storytelling conventions. So you have a plot twist that's like turning something on its head, like some kind of convention, whether it's in the category or within consumers, you have an arch enemy. So rather than just standing for something, it's something you can push off of and create some tension against. And they have a moral of the story is like sums up something into like this saying that like your grandma would say or something that just sounds true and rings true. And so when we built this platform for them, the category plot twist was going from diversity to inclusion, because diversity has been this thing that people have talked about for forever, but diversity doesn't really mean anything if you don't have inclusion. And so inclusion is really the thing to focus on in the future to make sure, because it's just the reality. It is the status quo. We are a diverse population that we can't focus on that anymore. We need to focus on how do we make things inclusive and bring people into spaces that they need to be in. The arch enemy was invisibility, which for Crayola, we got there because when you think about a child of color that grows up in this world, we rely, and not just child of color, but any child relies on media a lot to be able to know what the world looks like the television shows we watch, the people that we see on TV, the actors, the famous people, the athletes. And if you're a child of color, you don't see people that look like you on your favorite TV shows, and you don't see people that look like you that are news anchors, except maybe one or two here or there. But it's not really something that you see a lot. And as a child that grows up in this space where you don't see it, it's easy for you to not think that there's a future for you out there, or not know what that future for you looks like. And you feel invisible. You feel like the world doesn't see you. You don't see anybody out there like you. So why would you think that the world sees you? So that's where that feeling of invisibility came from. And then the moral of the story was all about hold on, I've got it on my computer, let me look it up real quick. It was it's been a minute since we sold this in, so I don't have it at the top of my tongue, but 2 seconds. So here we go. Son of a bitch. Sorry, y'all. Wow, what a cliffhanger. My bad, y'all. Here it is. Yeah. From diversity to inclusion was the plot twist. Arch enemy was invisibility. Moral of the story. So we had the moral of the story and then the strategic platform. We switched it up a little bit for this one. Moral of the story was to sum up that section of the plot twist and the arch enemy. In a world where diversity is the underrepresented reality, people crave to feel seen. That's just a fact. So the platform became, at Crayola, we believe every child should have the power to create their place in the world by coloring themselves into it. so that was all about giving the crayons a purpose and a reason to exist in this world. But also set up, because it's not just crayons, it's everything. So that kind of has become the baseline strategy for how they behave as a brand when it comes to their platform in general. We're in talks with them now to help create something else that kind of encompasses this thought, because they're all about enabling self-expression. So we would try to bring that into that. But for this platform, for this Colors of the World launch, that was the strategy that helped launch that. And it was a really big thing for me to be able to like do that and help them with that. So that was pretty
That's
cool.
absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love this concept too of like diversity and inclusion. Like you need to have both. Where it's like someone told me where it's like diversity is bringing people to the party, but inclusion is really inviting them and encouraging them to dance. And I feel like you need both within that. And I definitely want to also like ask you, could you elaborate more on the dynamics? Because you said a lot about, oh, I was the only within this. I'm the only like person of color that was touching this. Can you elaborate more on the dynamics you have had working in this primarily white dominated spaces?
So it's definitely been something, you can't not notice it. Like when you are the only person of color in a room, you're just like, yep, cool, got it, noted.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know whether, I don't think that's something that I've let hold me back. And I've had a lot of managers that are smart, and I think our strategy team at McGarry in particular is extremely diverse. So while I might have been the only person of color touching this from the strategy perspective, and from that whole team, really, like the strategy department is actually really diverse. And I think our CSO in particular has known for a very long time that you need people that have different backgrounds and different perspectives to be able to create anything compelling and have any kind of smart thinking that pushes the boundaries and can get things to next level. So I've really felt that support from my team the entire time I've been there. So that's made my life a lot easier. But the agency as a whole, and I think you'll find this in a lot of places, is not diverse at all. And it's disappointing. And a lot of the work that I did, especially when I first got hired, was to help try to create a D&I strategy for the office, which was also great to work on. But it wasn't until after everything that's happened in the last few weeks and we signed that petition, that I was able to send them. I was like, we signed this thing. Like, this is, if you were looking, because all the agencies are going to be turning to their, rightly or wrongly, there are people who are going to be like, what do you think we should do? And be like, before you even ask me what I think we should do, see attached. And then see previous email that had a plan laid out that we talked about forever ago that had a lot of these things included that are now very important. So it's been annoying to have people say this is a problem and like in an issue and they want to focus on it and then see nothing being done. I think now there is a fire lit under everybody's asses to get something done, which is great. But at the same time, like it kind of, we do what we can to change it and push back where we have to and speak up and not be afraid to do that. But like this is the industry that we work in, so you have to know that coming in and you have to be willing to help change it. And I think as things start to open up and people start to really focus on their diverse and inclusive and equitable hiring practices, it's going to be a new thing to have. Like, I'm hoping that as more people of color come in, and that like the focus is on inclusion and equity, that people just feel comfortable being themselves. It's not like I'm the only one. You just come to work and you know that this is your environment. I feel like I've been somebody that's been able to fit in pretty much anywhere, and I think it's a sports thing. Like, if I find my team and I latch on, and that's my team, and I don't care what they look like, that's my team. But there's still that level of comfortability when you don't have people that look like you, talk like you, like act like you, that you never get to with a team. And I'm hoping that that all will change, but it will only start to change when there's people like you that come in with a fresh mindset and like, or like, I'm here for the ugly. And then,
Yep.
and then that's how we move forward. Like, it's gonna be ugly. But that's the only way anything changes.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Before we go into questions, I have one last question for Aaron. This mainly is stemming off of from what Mallory was going and talking about, where she was dealing with Crayola and then they were trying to do something and then they stopped and said, wait, but you got to be about this to be able to do that. And there's been a lot of talks in terms of performative activism, performative allyship. But what are your thoughts specifically on performative allyship by some white people or specifically non-Black people? And what do you think was a good strategy or action that you took as an ally for the Black Lives Matter movement, specifically within the corporate ad agency setting?
It's kind of difficult to answer that, but I'll try. And I'm not sure if I'm not clear. Just point me in the right direction, and I'll go there.
Yep.
You know, when I was coming up and everything, it was when I was at Fallon, it was very locked, and I was actually very disappointed when I got there. I think part of what I was escaping from print was this mindset that I didn't appreciate. And when I got to Fallon, because most of the people were coming from Minneapolis to New York, there was still some of that mindset, and I couldn't fight it. And I got to Saatchi, and I was able to experience people from all different cultures around the world that were coming in, interning, all that stuff. And it was great. I felt like I found a home. I went to JWT, there was still sort of that Fallon-esque kind of mindset. So when I built the team, you know, I never looked at anything but their books, you know, and knowing that that's all I was working with, and if they had drive. So I had one of the most diverse teams in the agency for years before any of these actions came up or anything like that, where they blind hiring and all this other stuff, which, you know, I think was smoke and mirrors, because if you believe it in your heart, maybe it's because of the way I was raised and what I was exposed to, that it was never a thing. And so I never had an opportunity to put it into work, but I think that's why I gravitated to these nonprofits, because they needed help. And, you know, advertising is about selling. And if you can make a difference somewhere, whether it's at the agency level or even for a small nonprofit or a startup or a challenger brand, and get their voice heard, then that's what I like to do, because that's what satisfies me. And if you had seen my team, you would look at it, you go, I don't get it, but you know what? But we worked because we worked hard. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I will say that's just never going to change for me. It's always going to be like that. It was like that since the beginning, and it still remains to be that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
I absolutely love that too, especially when taking the labor to go and center the voices. In your case, it was for a nonprofit, but it's like, how are you going and using the agency you have to center the voices that need to be centered? So it's like, how do I pass the mic to these people and literally allow them to speak for themselves and what they bring to the table?
So when you look at SUS or NLP or a slew of other ones I've done, like I have work from Smirnoff, I have, you know, Puma, like all the like pretty stuff that people will be like, oh, that's great. That doesn't mean as much to me. And you know, part of it also is these are the overlooked brands.
Mm-hmm.
And why shouldn't they be up there with a Puma? Why shouldn't they be up there? Why shouldn't people be talking about them? So that's ingrained in me to do that. And that's why I go to these things. Plus, as I mentioned before, that these are really, you know, great opportunities to be extremely creative, you know, and really flex your muscle. I used to, when I first got to JWT, I didn't have a team. I built it. I built it from first person up. And it was just me by myself, and they stuck me in a corner. They didn't know what to do with me. I'm like, why'd you even hire me? But, you know, and so I was able to understand things on my own. And I used to call it, I used to take people's garbage out. I got thrown all the bad stuff, like worst work possible. And you know what I did is I made gold out of it because nobody was watching. They're like, I don't care about this. And I would blow it up and make something big out of it. And then everybody like, well, how'd you do that? I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, well, you didn't tell me I couldn't do it. So it really is about reframing things and really putting it to the level you want it to be. You have ownership over your life. In this day and age right now, everybody on this call has so much power, more so than I did when I started out. You have social channels to, you know, speak your voice. You know, people will listen now. You know, I had to bang on doors and then come up with sneaky ways to get around it. But, you know, I'm excited for everyone on this call to be able to be powerful and go and do great things, you know, and now is the time, as Mal was talking about, people have to listen, which is shitty that it comes to this. But, you know, I you know, for me, myself, it was never a thing, but I didn't care. People like, well, why are you picking that person? I'm like, because it's none of your fucking business why I'm picking somebody. You know, I'm doing it because I believe in doing that. So, and that was an earned role that wasn't given to me because I didn't start out as a boss. I worked my way up to it so that I could do it because I hate being told no. And I think that everyone has the ability to do that. And I like helping people who have the drive to do that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you both so much. That was the end of my questions. But now, so actually, snaps to y'all. Yes, yes, snaps all around. And you see the clap emojis. Yes. Thank you all so much. I saw in the chat, let's see, I think Team C, Andrew, you had a question? Did you want me to read it?
No, I got it. Would you have any advice for recent college grads interested in working in strategy? Yeah. Okay. So, I was somebody who was also super nervous about getting into strategy off the bat, just because when you go through MAPE 2, I think I went to St. John's, but I actively chose to do marketing and not advertising because I knew if I wanted flexibility in terms of being in the business world, I wanted to go through business college, which in marketing is in the business college and advertising is just in like one of the normal like college of professional studies thing. And it's a different track, and that does get more into advertising world, but marketing stays in the business realm. So I knew that if I was going up against kids that went to advertising as like a track, and then also went to a school that was lucky enough to have some kind of strategy focus. Some of these kids were coming out with portfolios. One of my friends, Marianne, I don't think she realized this, but like just the portfolio she had and all this stuff that she had was just like beautiful. And I was like, why would anybody, I don't have any of that. And I didn't know what to do at the time to like put any of that together because I hadn't been through that process yet. I didn't go to school for that. So that made me really nervous. And I think that's one of the reasons why I ultimately decided to get a job in account, is because I didn't think that one of the things that you're going to have to show when you apply for a strategy job is show that you can think strategically. And I didn't even know what that meant in the industry at the time. So I was like, let me go into accounts. Let me see how everything's supposed to work together. And then hopefully at that point in time, I can transition into a different role. if they like me and see my capabilities, and then whatever. Obviously that didn't happen. I ended up leaving, but that was for different reasons. Than the fact that they just like, it wasn't possible. I think for anybody that's coming out now, if you have the ability to work with young creative talent, so young creative talent are also needing portfolios and things to be able to show people when they're coming in. So they're going to be doing spec work that they need to build for these portfolio books. You can do strategy spec work to help them, give them a brief, and then help them work off of. That was something that I saw a lot of my friends do that I wish I had thought about and done when I was in school. Like, you can totally just think about any kind of thing out there in the world and then put strategy behind it. Just something to show that you can think in a certain way and then deliver some kind of insight, some kind of interesting thought or concept, so that people can believe that you can think like that. Because I think ultimately, when it comes down to getting an entry-level strategy job, it's really just showing that you have that curiosity and drive to figure something out and can get there. And like, even in showing your process to somebody and talking through something, they can start to see how your wheels turn and be like, oh, they might not be 100% there right now, but I can take them there. I can work with that person. I know that they're going to put in the work that it takes to be good at this. And so like, even though I didn't have that, I wish I had done that. Even though I didn't have that, for me, the experience that I got in account was pretty critical to be able to then go into my interviews with the people that I met at McGarry and just be like, I know how everything works together. I know what this is supposed to look like. But I also did a lot just when I was already at an agency, talking to strategists that we had and being like, can I shadow you? Can I like work with you on a brief, or at least you talk me through your process? And was kind of had somebody lucky enough to like let me be that like barnacle attached to their hull. Very weird boating reference because I'm at my family's lake in Virginia. And I'm just like, that came out of fucking left field real. So
I appreciate it.
But like, I think learning from somebody is really important. And then just, I think more than anything, strategists can come from anywhere. We have people that came from accounts, but we also have people that didn't even come from in this industry that have been able to get in. And it's just showing you have the drive, you have the curiosity, and you have the thought process, like the inquisitiveness to be able to say like, this is how something should work, and then show that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think that's great. And it really, it does come down to that at times. It's like, can you think? And then can you provide value in this space of like how you think? And I absolutely love that. And then the role of strategy really is very, very large. Like, I come from digital marketing strategies background. You just slap strategies at the end, but it's just like, I can think in that mindset, and that's how I provide that value. For the sake of time, I do see there are other questions in here. My goal that I was hitting for was 9:30 with ending. So if you could ask the question, then see if you can like speed answer it, I would really appreciate it. So for Team B, Brianna, what is your question?
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank you guys again for taking the time out. This question is from Mallory, so I will be reaching out to you on LinkedIn because I have some other ones. But I wanted to know, as far as portfolio goes, since you mentioned it, what would be some key factors that a person could showcase on their portfolio, because it's extremely hard as opposed to creative? And what are some things you would look for since you have a senior role in strategy?
So I think the biggest thing would be if you have these like case study examples of, if you do have a portfolio. Like I said, it's not, I would say if you want to set yourself up for the best possible chance of success, and you have the time and the energy and are able to connect with somebody to be able to do this right now, do it. I didn't have that. I didn't have it, and I was still able to do it. So it's possible. But if you're building out a portfolio, I would say showing what we call decks. I'm sure you guys do too, but like building a deck that shows a case study example of something that sets up what the problem is, or challenge, however you want to articulate it, and then talking about the opportunity, and then whatever insight that brings that you're pulling from the situation, whether it's from the consumer, whether it's from the marketplace, whether it's something like completely obscure that nobody's considered before about, like if this is a consumer that, so something that I kind of put together briefly, but for my internship, was a case study on Bose versus Beats. And like, it was kind of crazy and interesting, and talking about the fact that all that was wrong with Bose was a marketing problem, because it was a superior product when Beats first came out. And I would argue it's still in, but that's just me. And they had a branding problem. And like, for me to be able to look at that and then be like, okay, so what should Bose actually be? And then articulate that in a little thing. I didn't end up showing that to my JWT people because it wasn't relevant. And it was then too dated. It was an internship thing to be able to really show to my future employers at McGarry. But like, these decks that show that you can take something, this is a problem, and just kind of show your thought process is really important. And sometimes that's why I think it goes to the next level if you're able to partner with the creative team that can then take that idea and that concept of whatever you've pulled through in that deck and build out like how, just like basics of how it would work, how you would execute it in the real world. I think that takes it to the next level. But otherwise, peace. All right, we can fight later. It's fine. But yeah, I don't know if I missed any other parts of that question. But keep me honest.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody, feel free.
Yeah.
Your chat.
I absolutely love that. I know I've definitely seen before where a strategist role, they were saying, oh, you actually have to come prepared with this in mind. So they're just like, oh, pick something, and then you're going to be able to create this deck to showcase just your thought process behind it.
Yeah.
And I've seen that before. It's not at every role, y'all, but it is there. So might as well practice it while you can. With this, let me see. I think I had one more person. So Team A, Osman, would you like to go and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. First, thank you guys for the presentation. And my question's for Aaron. Being Latino comes with the unfortunate fact that there's going to be very little representation for us. And I was just wondering, how did your roots play a role in navigating the industry with very little representation?
I use it as a strength, really, because what I made was very warm. There was a lot of feeling. You know, I talk about emotions and emotional triggers, and growing up in a Latino family, there's lots of that. And, you know, so, you know, whether it's loud or huggy or what, you know, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of everything you can think of. And if I can put that into my work, then I'm actually expressing my heritage through my work, whether it looks like it or acts like it or feels like it in some way or form, you know. And I think that was important, because if I didn't have that, the work wouldn't be like that, you know. And that's the whole thing about your background. That's what's going to make you special, and we're in a sea of sameness. It's how you interpreted it through your work. I don't know if that answers, but
That was perfect. Thank you.
Well.
Yeah, amazing. Let's see. Okay. And with that, I know there is some time that is going to be dedicated for y'all to go and have your own time to work. But everyone, please give snaps, applause. Yes. Thank you so much, Mallory and Aaron, for your time. I'm going to pass it off to Kenny to give final remarks. So Kenny, take it away.
Thanks, Anthony. Great job once again. Yeah, I think Anthony is totally kicking Jad out of a job on these Sunnyside Chats. Anthony messes up on names just as much as I do, so I think he gets more points than Jen and his perfect accents. AP, Mallory, you both know how I feel about you both. AP, we have spent many of those late nights into the morning together, so we're not even going to talk about that. But I mean, I mean, you were always a huge supporter of literally a lot of the things that I did and are doing right now. I mean, last week we had Brent on, so that was dope. You know how I feel about Brent.
Yeah.
So Brent was on last week. Another huge supporter, but I can't thank you enough. And Mallory was showing support too. Mallory, wasn't with us for as long as a time, but she was definitely my little tall sister, because Mallory's taller than I am. She'll dunk it on y'all. I'm serious. But on a serious note, I appreciate you both. Thank you for spending time with I call them my GIFs, because they are my Growth Initiative Fellows, and they are going to be gifts to this industry very, very, very soon. A lot of the stuff that you were talking about, AP and Mallory as well, in regards to working on stuff that provides purpose. All of these young people here are managing their own nonprofit clients, right, at this very moment. All 4 teams are managing 4 different clients right now, and they're going to put out great work. So we kind of got to let you 2 go, and we got to let them get back to work for a little bit of time. So I appreciate you both. Love y'all like cook food, and I'll be in touch soon.
All right, thank you so much, Kenny.
No problem. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
All right, gang. That was good. That was amazing. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that. Yeah, Anthony rejoicing in the background. So you all should have received invites from me for training with Plowshare in your inboxes. I saw a lot of you have accepted that. So that's going to be happening very, very soon. Just teaching you all guidelines and formats and everything like that to the PSAs that you guys are going to be working on. To my PR folks, I think they're even going to talk to you about a little bit about PR as well, in regards to how to kind of tee that up. So that should be good for all of y'all. I think last week I spent time with I spent time with all of you, like as teams, as often as I can. And last week I mentioned that there would be training with Facebook. That is 100% yes, going down next week. It'll be 4 consecutive days. So it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Each day will be a different team. So it'll be, and I'm putting it purposely after you guys give your creative briefs, so they can kind of help you guys with the thinking and how to execute and make recommendations to how to use the Facebook platform for your clients that you got coming up. So Plowshare this week, Facebook next week, client tissue sessions next week. Like I told y'all, this is when it gets real. I really appreciate all of your dedication and all the hard work you all are putting in. So that's what I'm giving back, because you all deserve it. Because you're all just fucking dope. So I'm just gonna roll call out and throw y'all into y'all breakout rooms. I know it's getting late. I know y'all been working hard. We got about a little bit under 30 minutes, but if y'all wanna stay longer, I can keep everything open. And here we go. Hey, Marshall.
Wait, before you go, one second.
Yeah.
I also wanted to bring up, because this is something that Kenny and I are working on as well. In terms, like, you will see an email from me. I'm trying to get it. It's probably going to be tomorrow. I was going to do it tonight. It's going to be tomorrow. Mainly, it's going to be about resumes and portfolio reviews. This is to be done because we have seen that a lot of people are like, I need to go and get a job, and I need some advice that's more tangible to y'all. So instead, we're going to be spearheading. So y'all have this one-on-one time with people to go through your specific resume or portfolio, in terms of whether or not you are in creative, you can ask to have a portfolio review as well, mainly because if you were put into a role, but then you're realizing you actually want to go into this creative space, go ahead. There will be opportunity for you to indicate that. But yeah, so get excited for that. You'll see that email, and it's separated by like different teams. So it's like one team has a certain day, another team has a certain day, and it's also first come, first serve. So please go and fill it out because we can only have like 4 people to a 30-minute time slot. It's gonna make more sense once you see the doodle poll, but please do that.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yay.
Anthony. I totally forgot about that, and I'm the one that brought it up. I'm such an idiot.
I'm here for you now.
Appreciate you, Anthony. Yeah. I mean, today kind of marks like the 4 weeks kind of countdown. So, I mean, everything is kind of pedal to the metal right now. So we're just trying to fill these last couple weeks with as much stuff as possible. So you got the Plowshare, you got the Facebook, you got the resume and portfolio review stuff. Like, we're just trying to have you take a long, deep breath when August comes, like, wow, I did all that in 8 weeks. Yes, you did. But that's because, you know, we're not trying to spread it out and make it any longer than it has to be, but also give you guys the necessary tools you need to succeed in this business. So that's what inclusion means to me. So I'm gonna start throwing cats into their breakouts. A. Marshall, Live Light, Live Right.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Alex Oates, Live Light, Live Right. Well.
Yeah, I'm in City Living.
Oh, City Living. Sorry, I'll get this right one day, I promise. Alexa Fazzino, Raise, right?
Raise.
Yep, I almost got it. I think I almost got it. Alexis Velez, Connect.
City Living.
City.
You suck,
Don't I
Close. You were close. I give you props.
Damn, Devon, you rough closer. Wait. Andrew B, definitely Connect. I know that for a fact. Right? Andrew B.
You knew it for a fact.
Yep. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. He's not even saying anything. I don't know. Yeah, Andrew B is Connect, right, Andrew? Okay.
He is.
Okay. Because
he is.
Okay.
Everybody in the chat confirming it.
Thank you. Andrew C is City Living.
Live Light, Live Right.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask you now. I'm gonna stop making it for myself. And Anthony Martinez.
Live Light, Live Right.
Gotcha. Blaine.
Raise.
Okay.
Sorry.
Bree.
City Living.
Brian L.
Raise.
Cameron.
Raise.
Elena. I'm sorry, Elena, I didn't hear you.
Live Light.
Okay. Emmanuel.
City Living.
Gotcha. EJ. EJ's back.
Or did you mean me? Sorry, Connect.
Okay. I am connecting you right now. Ernest.
City Living.
All right. Gabriella.
Live Light, Live Right.
Yep.
Sorry,
Jamshed.
City Living.
All right. Joe. I can't read gang signs, okay? Stop throwing it up. City Living, right?
No, Connect.
Oh, there's 2 C's.
Right.
Judy.
Live Light, Live Right.
All right. Julia.
Connect.
Katie.
Connect.
Kenneth.
What's up, Kenny?
What's up?
Raise.
Kristen.
Live light.
Yep. Crystal.
City living.
Lauren.
Raise.
Lillian.
Connect.
Linda.
Connect.
Ali.
Raise.
Makita.
Connect.
Oh. Maria.
Connect.
Marissa.
Live light.
Maya.
Raise.
Chrissy. Christina.
City living.
Okay. Megan.
Connect.
Muhammad. Muhammad. Okay, moving on. Nicole.
Raise.
Okay. Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Olga, city living.
No.
I mean, live light, live right. I was like, oh, I got it this time. DJ.
Live light.
Osvaldo.
City living.
Okay. PFC.
Group C.
Connect, right?
Yep.
Okay. Becky, what's up, Becky?
What's up? I'm in city living.
Yep. Living for the city. Rich Nation, Raise. Sam.
Connect.
Me?
No, not you, Sam. Dude Sam, not girl Sam. Now girl Sam.
City living.
Okay.
Thank you, Kenny.
Surjita. You're welcome. Surjita. I pronounced it right again. Huh? I'm just excited pronouncing your name right.
Next time you might get it wrong, so
I probably will.
Shots
fired. City living.
Live
City
light.
live light. See, got that part wrong. Sydney.
City living.
Yep. Tia.
Live light.
Okay. Tim, my man Tim.
City living.
All right. Living for the city.
Living.
Tanisha.
Raise.
Raise it up. Usra.
City living.
Okay. And what's up with your background, Usra? Like no classy background this time? Like you're letting us down. Your game was so high. Now you let us all the way down. All the way down.
Time.
Vanessa.
Hi, Kenny.
Hey, girl. Live light, live right, you said?
Yeah, live light, live.
Okay, cool. Victoria.
Connect.
Next time I'll start from the bottom. Connect,
Yeah,
right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Zach, you are Raise.
Yeah.
Finally, getting something right, Lord. Yun Lee.
Raise.
Okay. All right, now back to Muhammad. Muhammad, you there?
Muhammad, you just want unmute. Hello?
Muhammad? Okay.
You can type it
Robbie-
into the chat.
Oh, okay, he's typing it into the chat. Okay. Ravi, where do you want to go? What's up, Ravi?
Just keep live light.
Okay, start there. Gary, where do you want to go?
Okay.
Also, just a heads up, don't forget about Andrew. He's in Group D.
Okay. I'll put out the. For some reason he's not popping up.
Wait,
I think he hasn't accepted. That's why.
Muhammad is Connect.
Muhammad is Connect. Okay, got it. Well, he'll know when he's there. All right, Devon, where do you want to go?
You can put me with Group D because I know them pretty well. I've been working.
Okay.
Gary, where do you want to go?
Who's left?
I mean, all the teams pretty much. I still haven't sent Carlos somewhere too. So, I mean, if Devon isn't raised, you can go to any of the other three.
Put me in live right.
Okay, cool. And brother Carlos, where do you want to go, brother?
Is City Living taken? Because I worked with them last time, and so.
Yeah, I don't think Ravi's in there right now, but I can.
Oh, it doesn't
put you in there right now. Okay, so see you.
Anywhere you put me is fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're
I had
go.
a whole thing.
All right, just accept it, and you're good to go.
Okay.
All right. Well, that worked.
That lasted so long. I was like, answer these questions faster.
Dude, see, the thing with Aaron, and like I love him like cook food, is that he can do this here, but in front of large groups of people, he's scared shitless.
I'm like, what the?
Like,
I'm like, answer the question. Just get done. I was like, oh my God. Like, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, by 9:30, I can be done with this. And then they both are still answering, and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I said a minute, and I can't cut y'all off because I seem so rude. Oh.
Yeah, they're good folks. I love them so much. They're so cool. But yeah, they can be a little bit long-winded. And
Dude, I'm gonna send these people cookies. Like, I'm gonna send like everybody who's helping out these people in their individual rooms. I'm gonna send them cookies because I'm like, damn, it's so late.
And don't get Aaron on that tequila, dude. Oh my God. He'll get you in a corner and just talk your head off. He'll be like this close. I love everything.
Like, oh.
I love everything that you're doing. Everything that you're doing is so important. Yo, on that tequila, dude, Aaron can put them back. He can put them back, dude. Like, it's insane. But yeah, he's one of the greats, man. He's one of the greats. He brought Emily up. I remember Emily, the girl that was in the video with him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when she was an intern. And now she's just senior graphic designer at McCann.
Ooh. Okay.
Like, yeah, I mean,
this industry is so small.
Yeah, it's so small. Well, I mean, it's even smaller when you count the number of colored folks. So that's why it's easy to know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
A lot of them. But yeah, man, I remember Emily, like her first summer as an intern.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's a long time ago. Long time ago. But,
Period.
Yeah. So
I low key want to go into one of the rooms because I've never done it yet. Can you send me to one?
I can say one. And
you
then
should, because I just want to see what happens. I'm not even gonna say anything. I just want to see what's going on.
Which one? I mean, you got your pick. There's like 4.
Whichever one you think is the most interesting. Which team got the tea?
I think City Living, like they've been they were on the Slack the entire time you were asking questions. They were back and forth on the Slack. I was like, oh, these motherfuckers aren't getting along.
What?
But they were trying to be polite as possible. And Crystal hit me up and said she's worried that they're not going in the right direction.
Oh.
But she said, oh, that's Gary. What's up, Gary?
What's up? It looks like Robbie has live light, live right.
Okay.
Handle.
Okay. I can send you. Where do you want me to send you? Connect.
Sure.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, she was just like, she felt like they weren't going in the right direction. But hopefully, like these chats with like Aaron and Mallory, I mean, I'm trying to bring anyone that's worked on cause marketing related stuff to like chat with them to kind of get their mind right and like just look at things like in a different way and everything. So hopefully it's working. I don't know. Sometimes I'm worrying.
Send me that one. I want to see what they're talking about.
Okay, so City Living. Yeah, I'll send you City Living. I'm going to start with Raise and work my way backwards.
Okay.
All right. So just hit join and you'll go.
Is that a correct assessment?
Okay.